In the ancient lands of Cyprus, where beauty and myth intertwine, the story of Adonis unfolds. Adonis, a stunning young hunter, wandered through the woods in search of prey. His beauty was so striking that he seemed like a god. One day, Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty and love, was playing in the forest with her son Eros, sharpening his arrows. She noticed Adonis. Aphrodite was enchanted by the young man and began praising him to her son. Eros grew jealous and turned his back on his mother. Aphrodite said that Eros should not be jealous because to her, he would always be the most beautiful. She hugged him to comfort him, but accidentally injured herself on the arrow Eros was holding. Aphrodite fell in love with Adonis. She was spying on the beautiful young man and couldn't resist his charms. She succumbed to passion. Aphrodite asked the young man who he was, as his beauty was so wonderful that he resembled a god. Adonis knew that this lovely woman could only be Aphrodite, the goddess of love. He said he was not a god, but a mere mortal. Aphrodite was intrigued because she didn't know a man could be almost as perfect as a god. Aphrodite drew closer with such a seductive look that no god, much less a mortal, could resist. The couple kissed and began to see each other regularly. These were days of passionate love. On a spring day, Persephone, the queen of the underworld, was wandering through the woods and stumbled upon the loving couple. She was delighted with what she saw, but didn't know that Eros, the god of love, was ready to pull another one of his pranks. He shot her with one of his arrows. The queen was now also in love with the boy and decided that Aphrodite should enjoy it while she could, because one day the beautiful boy would be hers. Aphrodite was overzealous of Adonis, fearing that the young and daring hunter would injure himself on his hunts. But he kept telling her not to worry because he was very experienced and promised not to take any chances. However, apart from Aphrodite and Persephone, there was one more god who was keeping an eye on the boy. Ares, the god of war, who was Aphrodite's lover and therefore bore a great hatred for his rival. Ares knew that the young man's love for hunting rivaled his love for Aphrodite and so plotted his revenge. Adonis roamed the woods in search of yet another prey when he stumbled upon a mighty boar. Ares stirred up the young man's bloodlust. He ended up forgetting the promise he made to the goddess not to risk himself needlessly. Adonis chose to fight the beast and managed to wound it, but Ares inflated the beast's heart with unbridled fury. The boar decided not to flee to preserve its life, but to furiously charge at Adonis. He drove its powerful tusks into his abdomen. Adonis was mortally wounded. Aphrodite came running to his aid, but there was nothing more she could do. He died in her arms. She buried him. The powerless goddess of love watched the arrival of Hermes, who was there to lead Adonis's soul to Hades' realm. In the netherworld, Queen Persephone eagerly awaited the arrival of the most beautiful man in the world, for whom she cherished a great passion sparked by Eros' arrow. Adonis was welcomed in the underworld by specters who treated him with great honors. The boy was surprised at such a reception. He had no idea of the love that the queen of the underworld had for him. Persephone's loyal specters launched the boy in a special room in the royal palace, while Hades, the underworld lord, was asleep. The beautiful goddess cornered the young boy, but he tried to dodge her. He dreaded Hades' revenge, but the goddess told him not to worry if he didn't tell the god. She wouldn't tell him either. With no way out, he gave in to the goddess's lust. The sneaky encounters continued day after day. Aphrodite longed for her lover and promptly decided to go down to the Hades realm and rescue her sweetheart. She found Adonis there, serving the underworld gods, and said she was there to bring her beloved Adonis back to the surface. Hades, however, was aggrieved to see the goddess of love invading his kingdom and making demands. Hades told her that he didn't care for Aphrodite's will. He appreciated the services rendered by Adonis, and he would remain in the underworld forever. But Aphrodite threatened to extinguish all love from the face of the earth. Only bitterness and grudge would remain between the couples. Hades ousted Aphrodite from his kingdom. She left in tears, But her threats were not empty. Throughout the world, love between couples began to dwindle. The relationship between Zeus and the goddess Hera, usually strained, was becoming unbearable. Zeus decided that something had to be done. He called for a meeting with Hades, Persephone, and Aphrodite, saying that the whole situation couldn't go on. He suggested Hades take possession of Adonis, just like the agreement he had made with the goddess Demeter. For a third of the year, he would stay in the underworld. The next third he would spend on the surface with Aphrodite, and the young man would have a third to enjoy in any way he wished. Hades took issue with Zeus's intrusion into matters of his kingdom, but knowing that Adonis was Persephone's favorite servant, he said he would not accept such an offer. To Hades' surprise, however, Persephone replied that if it was for the good of all, she would allow Adonis to resurface and return to her husband's kingdom only when winter was approaching. Spring arrived and Adonis departed to meet his lover Aphrodite. But summer meant the goddess had to leave him. Hades did not foresee that this summer would be when Persephone would emerge from the underworld to find his mother, the goddess Demeter. So during the summer, Adonis and Persephone loved each other without worrying about being caught by the king of the underworld. But the quarrel between Persephone and Aphrodite remained. They always sought to maximize the length of their relationship with Adonis. This is why, in some years, the winter seems longer, or the heat of summer persists. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me on this journey through ancient tales.